Hello, fellow Warrior Cat fans. It is I, Cheesecake Cat. I know, the name is absolutely amazing. Please, hold your compliments. Please. I know a lot of you know this already, but for the past few months, I have been kind of inactive, and I've been doing a few other things in that time, but don't worry, new videos will come out soon. But one of the main things I've been working on besides sleep is actually writing my own book. And I just only recently started to put my ideas on pen and paper, also known as a Google Doc. And I just wanted to share with you the prologue of my book. It kind of enters into the villain side of the story, and a lot of dots are left unmarked. So, like, things might not make sense, there might be words thrown around that you don't understand, but don't worry, once the book is slowly released, all the dots will connect. Just to let you know, there are a few things that were mispronounced, but without further ado...
Get yourself ready for some reading.
Erdwin, Commandant of the nation Tarfi, peered out a large wall-wide window on the side of his war room. His secretive headquarters was placed precariously on top of a mountain at the center of the capital city of Tarfi, surrounded by a port on the east and dense woods to the south. He stood silently with his hands behind his back, staring intently at the landscape below. His personal bodyguard, Veer, stood silently amongst the shadows in the corner of the large room, and his eyes were illuminated by a ray of light from a cloud parted. The weather outside was an unusual mixture of thunder and rain, making the room seem drowsy. Erdwin, after a quiet exhale, turned to his desk in military fashion and gazed upon a few unopened letters. The Commandant stepped towards his desk, positioned on a raised part of the floor. His boots made a clicking noise as he stopped, picking up one of the crisp envelopes on the dark brown surface with his gloved hands. Opening the letter with his ornate dagger, he quickly read the note. It stated that another batch of prisoners with various crimes was being transported to the city's confinement facility later that evening. Erdwin then broke the silence, asking Veer, "Do you remember how many prisoners are being held in our facilities, Veer? There's a transport coming later this evening with a few new convicts, and I just need to know if we have the room for our dear guests." Veer looked up, taking a moment to think before saying, "I think somewhere in the range of 300 or so, but I know for a fact that we don't have enough room for many more." Erdwin stared at his bodyguard unsettlingly before muttering, "We actually have 426 in custody, but who's counting?" "Well, I'll tell you. I am." Veer scoffed, folding his arms, clearly unamused by his superior's comment. "No matter," Erdwin continued. "Send a cadet to tell the warden there to select 50 of those who have caused the most trouble to be set free. But worry not, the boat shall sink during departure." Right as Veer was about to respond, the huge wooden double doors, which were the room's only entry, swung open by the guards who were stationed there. A young messenger passed by the guards, giving both of them a shaky nod before hastily walking to Erdwin's desk. "Sir, we have fresh intel from our spy in Moldova. May I read it aloud?" the young man asked, bowing. Veer's head whipped towards the semi-callow messenger, and he silently reached for his blade's hilt. Turning back to the window after setting down the contents of his hand, Erdwin motioned for his bodyguard to stand down. "Proceed." Unfolding the brown paper, the messenger read the summary, skipping the greeting. "Prince Frederick Chalvar of Moldova earlier this week has issued a federal decree stating, 'All emblem wielders are no longer welcomed anywhere in Moldova and will be prosecuted if necessary.' When you read this, the Moldovan garrison will have started their pursuit. However, I have already seen multiple emblem wielders in chains come into Chalvar Tower, held tightly by guards even before the decree was stated. His decree only made his actions public." Erdwin exhaled momentarily, pondering all he had just heard as the young man finished reading the letter by reading the short complimentary close written in fine handwriting. Thank you for that, he complimented. Messenger, if you'd be so kind as to summon Ferroc to my quarters immediately. With those words echoing throughout the room, the messenger bowed again and left. Veer's face remained expressionless as he spoke up. Shall I give the orders to my men in the secret pass? The gatherings will be held in a day, depending on the weather, of course. This may be a perfect time to strike, sir. The Commandant's eyes flickered to his silent guard for a moment. Give the order on my mark. Everything has to have perfect timing. This news will likely spread within the week, which means we will send the message soon. But not yet. We don't want to make our valuable men restless, do we? He replied as he stared at Veer, his right eyebrow raising. Veer simply nodded. Of course, sir. Just give the word when ready, and it will be done. A few moments had passed until the heavy doors creaked open, and the imposing figure of Ferroc, the Insuperable, leader of one of the most fierce battalions of the Tarfish army, stomped in. His intricately detailed and gleaming Vulcanite armor accentuated his formidable frame, making him appear even more intimidating. His helmet showed no sign of his face, hidden by a mesh, furthering his dominance. Erdwin could almost sense his presence even with his back turned, since he could feel the stone flooring tremble. In a lone-toned voice, Ferroc asked, kneeling, "What do you want?" "I have just received word of Mondova's latest development, and this would of course be the banishment of emblems. With all of this news, it has come to my attention that to survive our country should form a pact with the Mondovan prince. Since our views are essentially the same, we hate the Elentars. He hates magic, and he's absolutely loaded." Erdwin paused for a moment before continuing, stating, "With all of the sanctions that the dictators of this world have put on our once prosperous lands, our treasuries hold little to no funds, which means a war is out of the question, and a war is what I want. It's what I need," he responded calmly, almost talking to himself. "If our men in the mountains are to do their jobs correctly, we shall antagonize the Elentars, and once they receive this Mondovan news, it will send them over the top. And I am quite familiar with the Elentars' behaviors, particularly Karoji, the Elentar of Voltaris. He is not diplomatic like the others. He will most likely, according to my strategic research, sail to Mondova immediately and give the prince a piece of his mind." Erdwin turned towards Ferroc, pointing. Clearly not scared of his masked glare, he continued, "Ferroc, assemble your best men or go alone. It doesn't matter. You are to intercept Karoji from harming the Prince of Mondova. Let nothing stop you, even death itself. Once Karoji has been dealt with, move to phase 2 of our little plan." Ferroc nodded, his armor making an ominous metallic noise as he rose and spun away, walking slowly. Erdwin chuckled darkly as he turned to Veer, taking a bite out of a crisp apple. Veer's ever-watching eyes transitioned from Ferroc to his leader as he stated, "Finally, after a millennia of waiting, the plan is coming together."